The New York Rangers may have ended up deciding to keep their 2026 first round pick instead of the 2025 12th overall selection, meaning they would not have a first round pick in the 2025 draft, so they did not get to choose a player in the first round. But that does not necessarily mean they didn't get to come out of this draft possibly with a true first round caliber prospect, as they ended up picking with their second round pick, number 43 overall, Malcolm Spence. And this is definitely looking like a possible steal for the Rangers, as he kind of was projected to be a possible kind of later round first round pick, and he ends up falling to the second round to the Rangers in the middle of that round. And I think this definitely could truly be a potential steal for the Rangers, who obviously didn't get to pick a player in the first round, but may have come out of the draft with a first round caliber prospect. And in tomorrow's video, I will have on Sunday a full kind of recap on all the prospects, including Malcolm, a little short recap on kind of each and every one of them, as there are quite a few prospects obviously potentially being taken by the Rangers. But I did want to get kind of an individual video out here on Malcolm, because I really do think this could be a possible steal. And before the second round started earlier today, I did tweet out or kind of post on X saying that if Malcolm Spence somehow fell to the Rangers with pick number 43, that I think that would be an absolute steal, and that was the exact kind of player I was hoping for, and he ended up falling there. Pretty incredible there. I am very happy with that selection. I mean, I truly do think this was a first round caliber prospect, and him falling to pick number 43, I didn't think it would happen there, but it did, and this is seeming like a possible steal. But let's get into the in-depth kind of breakdown on this prospect, as, like I said, I do think he is a very intriguing one and could be a player who, in 3 to 4 years, may end up having a massive impact on this team. And, first off, he is a left winger, which some fans aren't going to love. I get that. Some fans wanted to see this team possibly take a defenseman or a center, and I understand that. But you have to remember, right, most of these prospects, especially on day 2 of the draft, so you're talking prospects in the 2nd to 7th round, and I know I am calling this prospect a kind of first-round guy, but even first-round prospects for the most part as well, right? These guys tend to take at least about 3 years, right, until they really get a sniff at the NHL. You take a look at guys like Brennan Othman and Brett Berard there. You take a look at how long it took them to even kind of get their opportunities like they did last season there, right? I mean, that's when they kind of really got a real kind of sniff, but they still didn't have kind of full-time roles like, full-time NHLers normally do, like last season there for those two guys. So I think going forward, obviously, I think just taking the best player available in the draft there, not worrying about the position they play, but just kind of getting the best player possible there that you think can possibly turn into the best kind of prospect or best player overall, I think definitely makes a lot of sense there. And I truly do think, obviously, Malcolm Spence seemed like the best overall prospect on the board at the time at pick 43. But now let's carry on and take a look at the prospect. And like I said, he is a left winger, about 6'1", 6'2" range there. He is a bit of an older prospect for this draft class, so that is kind of one little flaw with drafting a player like this, because he is, already 18 years old, turning 19 in late September. So he is a bit of an older prospect for this draft class. Wasn't far off of being in, like last year's draft class, for example. But of course, is a prospect for this draft class. Still not too bad, of course, but it is just kind of one little thing there where he is a bit older than some other prospects in this class. But taking a look, like I said, he was for the most part there kind of projected to be a later kind of first round pick. Consolidated ranking had him at number 23, Elite Prospects 21, Bob McKenzie of TSN 25, Craig Button of TSN 16, Faravari there of THN, The Hockey News, he had him at 26, Kennedy 21, McKean's 33, Flow Hockey, Chris Peters 23, FC Hockey 22, Daily Faceoff 22. So there were for the most part a lot of rankings around that kind of 20 to kind of 25 range there. Even some Sportsnet guys there, Constantino, he had him at 24, and Bukala had him at 21. So a lot of reputable kind of draft kind of ranking places there. Some actual former NHL scouts, really kind of reputable people, had him around that kind of, 20 to 25 kind of range there. So the Rangers getting him with pick number 43, I definitely think is quite intriguing, and kind of why I truly do think this could be a possible steal, and why it kind of makes up a little bit for not having that first round pick, where this team is still kind of coming out of this draft class with a potential kind of real first round caliber prospect. Carrying on, though, he is a kind of big game player as well. He has come through big time for Team Canada at the international level, at the U18s for Team Canada at the World Juniors. He helped them win a gold medal, but also at the U18 Olympic Gretzky Cup in 2023, he had the gold medal, game-winning goal there, which you saw was the very first clip of this video. So he is kind of a big game player as well for Team Canada at the international level, which is kind of nice to see because this is a guy that seemingly comes through for his team in the biggest moments, in the biggest games, which is what you want to see out of these potential, future Rangers, of course. And also, overall, at that Hlinka Gretzky Cup tournament there at the U18s, he did have 5 total points there, 2 goals, 3 assists in 5 games played. And also at the kind of U18 World Juniors, as an assistant captain, did have 7 games played, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 total points. So point per game at both those tournaments there is definitely pretty nice to see. And he also, this past season there with the Erie Otters, in his last season there, of course, because he will be joining the University of Michigan for next season there, he did have this past season, though, as an assistant captain, 65 games played, 32 goals, 41 assists, 73 total points there, of course. And then in the playoffs there, had 9 games played, 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists. So not too bad overall there. Well above a point per game in the regular season there, a point per game in the playoffs. And then the previous season there in 2023-24 with the Otters. As assistant captain, once again, of course, he did have 66 games played, 19 goals, 43 assists, 62 total points. So just under a point per game slightly. And in the playoffs there was once again slightly under a point per game there. 6 games played, 4 points, 1 goal, 3 assists. And now let's kind of dive into more of the kind of info on this actual prospect here, some of his kind of play style and stuff like that. And first off, he did have a mouth injury this past season there, which I believe, from what I kind of heard there, did kind of cause him to lose some weight. So that definitely could have affected kind of, what he was able to do this past season there. Of course, definitely may have affected his play a bit. So that could have an impact on things. And, kind of leading into, this kind of draft class and stuff like that, he was a kind of really kind of highly rated prospect there. At moments, he was kind of like a top 10 projection kind of prospect there. So I think that's pretty interesting. He is also a player who is known to kind of have a kind of high character level there. Also good leadership skills, of course, was an assistant captain, multiple times for the Erie Otters and also, one time there for Team Canada. So he is someone that has, high character level there, good leadership skills, which of course is just a nice kind of plus there. Of course, you also want these players to be great hockey players, but if they're good guys on and off the ice as well, it can be a good leaders and just be good people overall. Also, that is definitely a good plus. So that's quite nice there. He's known to be a pretty good penalty killer and power play guy as well. He did have 5 shorthanded goals and I believe 5 power play goals this past season as well. So can definitely be a threat on the penalty kill, which is always nice. I think this is definitely someone who, I would imagine, if he does end up becoming a decent NHLer, will definitely be, I would say, a power play and penalty kill guy as well, which is always a bonus to have someone who can play in both situations there, especially to be a possible kind of maybe lethal threat in the penalty kill as well is always a nice thing. We know Kreider was a bit of that, obviously, but now leaving this team, we're going to lose that. So eventually having a guy, like this, who I think at moments there's some kind of similarities to a guy like Kreider. I'm not saying they're the exact type of player. Obviously Kreider's a bit bigger maybe, but I think there are some similarities in their games. Carrying on, though, Malcolm is known to be a pretty physical forward as well. Definitely can lay the body a bit there, which is nice. Use his size to his advantage there, using his size and speed to kind of break up pucks there, break up plays, which is always nice there, using his size to his advantage, which is a good thing. He has, pretty solid speed as well. Definitely seems like a guy who, in the NHL one day could definitely be one of those kind of playoff type players where you really want to have him on your team and hate to play against him. He is a very aggressive forechecker, uses his physicality and size and speed there to his advantage on that side of things there. Good overall defensive game. And also has a pretty great compete level as well, which is always a good thing. They're definitely a guy who can bring a lot of intensity, which is definitely a thing this Rangers team could possibly use more of. So getting a guy like that added into the lineup possibly in a couple of years is definitely going to be a possibly great thing. He definitely maybe needs to bring his A game a little more often, was kind of what I've kind of heard a bit there as well. And maybe sometimes just kind of take some plays off there here and there. But when he's on his game there and he's bringing that compete level, bringing the energy, he is a kind of, top level kind of player for sure. Definitely a great kind of, forward. Taking a look, though, he definitely is someone who has a pretty good, well-rounded game, though, overall. I would say possibly projects as kind of like a, second-line guy, possibly. Maybe something around there. Maybe a second or third-line guy, possibly. Maybe he doesn't quite have that kind of high-end kind of offensive game there to really turn into a, top-line kind of winger, but I think could end up becoming a great kind of second-line level player who is someone who teams hate to play against in the playoffs there. He can bring a lot of toughness, some physicality there, but also, has that great kind of aggressive forecheck there. Good defensive game, a solid offensive game, has decent one-timer there, good playmaking abilities, hockey IQ overall, offensively and defensively. Can be a threat in the penalty kill there. 5 shorthanded goals, 5 power play goals. He's a really solid all-around player, and with that compete level and that energy that he can bring, I think he could be a great player one day, and I really do like his defensive game and forechecking ability as well. He definitely could be a great penalty killer, and so something around a kind of second to third line level player definitely seems possible there, but I think a second line level player is definitely pretty possible there. It's just about his kind of offensive game, maybe taking that step forward from kind of what I've read there. I'm not some kind of expert on this player, but I have watched him a bit there. I do watch a decent amount of OHL hockey, so this is someone who I've watched a good amount in the OHL, a lot with Team Canada there at the U18 tournaments there at the Lincoln Gretzky and the U18 World Juniors. So I have watched this player a bit, actually live. So he's a pretty talented player, of course, and I definitely do think could end up becoming a great player for this Rangers team one day, but it definitely is going to take a few years. He's going to Michigan, though, which I think is a great thing for this prospect, right? He's taking that step up, going to a high kind of tier, college, of course, with a lot of great, highly rated prospects. He's going to be, in the lineup with tons and tons of great kind of highly skilled players, so this could definitely be a good thing for him as well. I would imagine for sure he's going to be someone that maybe Canada takes a look at there for the U20 World Juniors as well. So if you are someone that watches the World Juniors, definitely keep an eye on him for Team Canada, possibly making that team there. And going forward, I'm just excited to see what this prospect can do, because this definitely could be a possible steal for the Rangers in the second round with pick number 43 overall. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. If you want some more videos on some of the prospects the Rangers already have and some more info on these kind of 2025 draft prospects, definitely let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will have a video up tomorrow having a full kind of, draft recap on this 2025 draft class for the Rangers there, a full kind of recap from the second round all the way to the end of the draft class there. So I will have a kind of complete recap there, but I wanted to do a specific video on Malcolm because I really do think he could be a special player for this team one day. So definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on Malcolm Spence. Do you like this prospect? Do you think this was a good pick, a great pick, a bad pick? Do you think this was a steal and kind of agree with me on my take on that? Or do you disagree and think this is not a steal at all? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And also, like I said, I will have a video up tomorrow on Sunday giving a full kind of breakdown at 10 a.m. Eastern time. That video will be up, and it's going to be a breakdown from the second round all the way until the end, the very last pick the Rangers make of each and every prospect the Rangers make in the 2025 draft. I'll do a little kind of recap on all of them and give you a breakdown on those prospects. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.